Welcome back. Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Kelby Feenaughty, and I'm your co-host.
And I'm Erica Arnautovic, your other co-host.
We are excited to kind of catch up with each other, and we're going to have a representative from, I don't want to butcher the name. I took 5 years of Spanish, and I still can't pronounce things correctly.
It's Aventura Consciente.
That's how I'm understanding it. But Lucy, the expert and the founder of this foundation, she will come on and explain more about it and not butcher the name like we probably just did. So sorry, Lucy. If we did.
So yeah, we'll let you better say it.
Yeah.
It'll sound very pretty, I'm sure, coming out of her mouth.
We are planning to attend Lucy's event. This is her first event, from my understanding, in Charlotte, North Carolina at the end of September.
Yes.
So things you ought to know. We will have a booth there. We're excited to kind of shake hands with anybody in the area that's listening and wants to come by. And she's going to have some great resources. She'll explain more about it when we have her own. I don't want to give too much of the cool information away, but there's going to be some amazing resources there and two really cool keynote speakers. One you already may know of. So if you've listened to an earlier episode of the podcast.
Yes.
So we will, before we do that though, and kind of get in with Lucy, how have you been?
Good. I feel like as we get into the school year, things just get really crazy. The weekends fly by, even more than normal. And, the kids are really tired. So Fridays are always kind of chill. But then Saturday and Sunday are, Zara is in the age of sleepovers. So we had 2 of her little friends over this weekend. And I love it. I love to see their personalities. But these girls were both a couple of years older than her. And so it's really good for Zara because she'll say they're being mean to me. And I'm like, they're being mean. What happened? And she'll say, they don't want to play what I want to play. And I'm like, sweet girl, that's not them being mean. That's just them having an opinion.
Yeah.
So different than yours. So it's just really cool to see them, learning and things like that. But so she had a great time, exhausted. All of us were exhausted. They stayed up until midnight, and which was early compared to other sleepovers we have had.
Yeah,
Zara is my
that's
night
pretty
owl.
good.
Yeah. Zara is my night owl. She could go until 2 or 3 if we let her, if she was moving. But I put them on the couch, set them up with, some snacks and a movie, and they watched The Little Rascals.
Oh,
they all chose The Little Rascals. I was like, oh my gosh, I'll watch this with you guys. And Zara was like, and I was like, okay, I'll go to my room.
She did not want mom hanging out.
Yeah, no. I was like, I guess I'm not cool anymore. It's already starting.
Does Luca do good with having more kiddos in the house?
Yes. Actually, it's these particular girls have both been here a few times, and especially one of them has been here several times and is, like I said, a little older. She's an only child as well, but she's very familiar with I always let them know he has autism, and he does really well. He follows them. I swear he flirts with one of the little girls. I'm like,
he is a little ham.
I'm like, and then he'll go grab and then when the moms come, he gets their hand immediately because he thinks that they're gonna take. He's like, my mom is not taking me outside. You're gonna do it, right?
Yep.
Anyone who comes through the door. So he had one of the moms on his leash for a little while, and I was like, you don't have to do anything. She was like, no, I'm going to.
That is one thing about our kiddos is they, not as nonverbal as they both are, they know how to get what they want. And I'm sure I've said it over and over on even these episodes, but it's Porter's the same way. He's going to take someone's hand and take it to wherever he needs to go. And it's whenever we come over, Luca will grab either my hand or Michael's hand and trying to get us to do whatever he wants us to do for him. And you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do whatever you ask me to.
Want. Yeah, and Porter can ask me for 17 yogurts, and he's going to get them all.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was a good weekend, and we went to Carolina Play Small, and
fun.
You did the little animals.
Yeah, did y'all ride those?
Yeah, we rode those, and Luca actually did for a minute too, which was really cool. And then they love that little playground. I'm sure it is germ city. My anxiety about germs was kind of going through the roof a little bit, but I was like, you know what? It can't be any worse than school germs. So go for it.
You think they're
wipe your
rubbing down
snot
the,
and go, oh gosh,
the,
no.
the Cloroxing the school playgrounds or anything?
Even though we
I
sell
doubt it.
Clorox wipes every year. No,
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't. So yeah, it was like, wipe your snot, go ahead, go play.
Yeah.
And he, like, as busy as it was, he was watching other kids. It was the first time that he was really watching, like,
That's cool.
really, really not just Zara, but like other kids. I really noticed that he was standing back and kind of observing. And even a couple of times, some of the kids were like jumping from, like, there's just different little climbing structures, and they were like, some of the bigger kids were jumping from one to the other, and I could tell he was sizing up a few, like,
Trying to figure out
make that. I'm like, buddy, you're still. I think mobility wise you could, but I don't think you've got the length there for you, buddy. So he kind of looked at me like, should I do it? And I'm like, try it, buddy. You're gonna fall on carpet if you do. Like, go ahead and try. And I mean, he didn't, but it was really cool to see.
That's cool. That's awesome. We had some family time, and my dad came into town on Sunday, so we went. My little brother moved into his own apartment. He's turning 21 this week, and so he's got his own apartment, and he's thriving. He's doing so good, and he got his own, like, setup in there, his couch. So he wanted to show us that. So my dad came into town. My dad lives at Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
And so he came into town to see my little brother's apartment. So we all met and had lunch, and it was not very good lunch.
Where did you go?
I hate to say,
yeah.
It was Jim and Nick's barbecue in Indian Land.
It just wasn't like.
No, service was slow, and but I think she was probably newer to waitressing, and then so I was just trying. We were all just trying to be paid. We were a bigger party, so understandably a lot in itself. But the food.
Just wasn't.
It was just off that day.
Yeah.
It was a very dry brisket.
Yeah.
Very dry brisket.
I feel like with the food, the chain restaurants, like, you can really just get like a bad day.
Yeah. But we love their deviled eggs and the smoked wings. So those, and those cheesy biscuits. Oh my gosh.
Were they good?
I never sat down and eaten there. Those cheesy biscuits are dangerous.
Okay.
Dangerous.
I've never eaten at Jim and Nick's.
Yeah. Well, I would recommend it still. I think it's still a great place to eat, because especially the cheesy
Just go for the cheesy biscuits and nothing else.
Okay. But if you're on a diet, those are hard to...
That's a cheat day.
To not indulge in.
Okay.
But it was cool because Porter, like, it's a small apartment, so he's, we stopped and got some new toys.
Okay.
For both the boys, because we're learning this dynamic of brotherhood.
Yeah.
And the love, and also the
not willing to share.
The not willing to shareness of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's if it's like more fixated on, like, that's mine for Porter, or if it's normal kiddo behavior.
It's probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be times, like, with certain things, but I'd say it's probably a combination of both, because I think
it's a cool dynamic to see them as brothers, like, growing up, but it's also like what I'm teaching Parker. I'm also, like, my 10-month-old, I'm also teaching my 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And so that dynamic is different to kind of navigate it. And he's very observant over Parker. Like, he's very, like, he watches him. He also will tattletale on him. So if Parker is climbing up the stairs, and he'll get like 3 steps before, and I'm watching him, I know, but because Porter hangs out on the staircase.
Yep.
Right there on, like, the little platform. And so he will, he'll come running down the stairs, and then he'll grab my hands, he'll pull me over towards the stairs, and he'll push my hands over to his brother to tell me, like, get Parker off the stairs.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's 2 things. I'm sure he understands, like, it's a little bit of dangerous. I think he understands that.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, I don't want him in my bubble, and he's about to approach my bubble up on the staircase.
Yeah, and I can't push him down because that would be mean.
Yeah.
So get him before I do.
That has happened, but I think it's because I'm being really patient with him, and I'm like, gentle hands.
Yep.
It's okay. You can tell me, and I'll grab brother. And then I'm also trying to get Porter to, like, grab both of Parker's hands, like, if he's just on step 1, and, like, guide him slowly back to his bottom.
Good.
and he's okay with that. Sometimes he doesn't want to touch them, and then other times he'll try it.
Okay.
Yes. But we've got a little gate on the staircase now, so that helps with that. But
Can Porter navigate the gate?
he goes over it. It's like a little mesh gate, so he just climbs over it. But
He's like, this ain't stopping me, Mom.
so yes, it was a fun weekend, great weekend. We are excited to have Lucy on, so we're going to go ahead and transition into the conversation with Lucy. Well, Lucy, we are excited to kind of get to know you, get to know your the foundation that you founded, and be able to kind of understand a little bit more about this upcoming conference that we will be attending. We are very excited about that. Before we dive in, though, we'd love to kind of just get to know you as a person. If you could give us a little bit of your background.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited that you guys are going to be part of networking for a cause that is the first event of Aventura Consciente. So I'm going to introduce myself. I am Lucy Vintimilla. I am originally from Ecuador, but I have lived here in the States for 10 years that I have been married. I came here because I fell in love with an American boy. We have been together for 10 years. And before we used to live in Pennsylvania, we used to live in Philadelphia, and we moved to the Carolinas 3 years ago. And moving from one state to another was like moving from one country to another country. Everything is completely different when you have a child with special needs. My son is autistic, and getting him services and finding another developmental pediatrician and, speech, OT, and somebody that we were good fit for those professionals, it was hard. At the beginning, it was really, really hard, and I felt very lonely. It was really hard. So that's one of the reasons that I founded Aventura Consciente, because even though my background, I have been a teacher since 2007. So I have been teacher for a long time. When I was in Ecuador, I used to teach English. Then when I came here to America, I have been a Spanish teacher, and I also been an ESL teacher. So I have always been teaching and everything. And I'm sure that before my son was diagnosed with autism, I had some students who were autistic. I am sure I did, but I didn't know about it. So when in my master's degree, I remember we had one semester neurodivergency, something like that. But it was like flash, like just blah, 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 you read, and that was it. So when my son was diagnosed, it was a big change for me, because I felt like I packed my suitcase for my first child here in America all by myself. All my family live in Ecuador. I'm the only one who lives here in America. I read all the books, what to expect when you are expecting, how to feed the baby, all the books. I read them all, but those books were taking me to the Bahamas, and I landed in the Antarctic. So I was like, okay, I have no idea about autism. Like, one thing is to read about it when I was in my master's, and another thing is to live with an autistic child. And then you Google it, and Google tells you all these things, and you're like, no, this is not my son. What's going on? And this and that. And in 2020, the pandemic happened. We were stuck at home, and I kept seeing Julian being different. I was giving birth of my daughter. So it was May 2020, she was born in the middle of the pandemic when everything was closed. My parents couldn't come to help me. So I went through a lot, to be honest. So when Julian was diagnosed, I was mad, I was sad, I was depressed, I was in denial. Like, I went through everything until I accepted. And I was like, okay, my child is different. Autism is not an illness, nothing to be cured, but we need to support him. So what he needs? He's only 3. And I had like million things to work on. So I was like, no, let's start. But I think I was able to choose what we needed in that moment for our family, because I accepted, and I was fine myself. Like, I was, okay, it is what it is. It's not a blessing. It's not a curse. It's a condition. Like, his brain works different. Okay, perfect. So let's accept it. So then, honestly, I feel like for new generations, new moms, knowing about autism will be easier if they have a diagnosis, because I feel like all these roller coasters that I went through until I finally accepted was because I wasn't ignorant. I didn't know about it. I didn't have all the knowledge. And sometimes like in my generation, well, my culture is like, oh, poor, he has a disability. I'm so sorry. Like, and no, he's different. It is a disability, but it's different. And different is not better, it's not worse, it's different. I'm going to be honest. There are days that I'm like, autism just made his life more difficult in some things. Like, and I was like, oh, it's okay. I'm here to give him tools and to teach him and go ahead and everything. I'm not gonna lie and tell you that I am 100% happy all the time. No, there are days that I'm very sad and they're depressed and angry and knowing all these feelings. So that's why I always said, like, also, I used to say, oh, I just want my kids to be happy. And now I said, I just want my kids to manage their emotions because they will feel them all. So honestly, that's how Aventura Consciente started. It just from the bottom of the heart of a mom and a professional who feels that the society needs to know about autism. We all need to know it, no matter if you have a family member or not, but you will meet somebody who is autistic. So, and I want people to include by knowledge, not by like, oh, poor, oh, I'm doing him a favor. No, I want people to know that the brain works differently, that there are some communication is not only language, there are other ways to communicate, not only speaking. Sensor integration plays a such important role in our lives, and so many things that sometimes we don't know. And when I got the diagnosis, I remember I got tons of papers for him to go. But then I was like, what about me? What about raising the child that is different? So I felt like that there's a gap that I want to fill. Also in Aventura, I want to help teachers to have more information, more updated information, because teachers don't have access to a lot of things that sometimes moms we do have access because we are searching all the time. If you check my Google history, it's searching all about autism and things that I can help and new resources and listening to the autistic community and all of that. But to be a teacher is difficult and sometimes you don't have the budget for that. So I want to help teachers to get all the information to make their lives easier and our kids' life better too.
Yeah.
What just to kind of break that down just a little bit, what does Aventura Consciente, and I apologize if I'm butchering how to say
No,
that.
you're doing
Please
it
forgive
great.
me. What does it stand for? So we can, whoever doesn't know what it means.
Perfect. So honestly, I have always liked conscious discipline. So I remember when I was teaching little ones, it was always I really admire Dr. Becky, and I have gone to her workshops and study, and I love the way she teaches us about the brain and how our function executive works, and that behavior is communication and all that stuff. So I love it. So I was like, okay, I love conscious discipline, and I feel like when I am conscious of what's happening, I do better. When I'm just in my like airplane mode, it's just like, like I'm not thinking what's going on, and I just see the behavior and things like that. And honestly, I feel like this life is an adventure, because there are some days, there are some bad days. Like my friend was telling me, you are always checking your phone in case they call you from his school. I'm like, yes, because I don't know what can happen during the day, and I don't want to miss that important phone call. Like, I can miss other calls, but no his phone call, because I drop him off happy, but I don't know if he got dysregulated during the day or something happened, So I was like, this life is an adventure, but I wanted to be a conscious adventure. So Aventura Consciente stands that for. And honestly, I started with an Instagram page to educate my family and my close friends, because when I used to tell them like Julian is autistic, they were like, oh, Einstein was autistic, and I was like, I don't know, just treat my son for who he is, not for somebody that we read many years ago or whatever, it was like, or I will hear people telling him, oh, but they are so smart. I was like, okay, or things like that.
That's a common, it's a common comment that I think we both experience. It's like, wow, he's so smart. And I'm like, yeah, he's a freaking genius. Like, he's in his own way.
And autism isn't a cognitive disability.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I hear things like, so I was like, no, I think that we do better when we know better. And until we honestly, I wouldn't be talking about this if my son wouldn't have a diagnosis. Like I wouldn't care. I would see a kiddo in the street, and maybe my brain without studying will be like lack of discipline because you don't know. And so I want all those stereotypes to break them because they are not true. Our kids are not, they don't wake up and say, today at 9 a.m. I'm going to be mean at my mom in the supermarket. No, they don't do that. Not that neurotypical does, not our kids do until certain age.
That's
but,
right.
but then I was like, no. And I feel like when we are conscious that when they are showing us a hard time, it's because they are having a hard time. It's like they are showing us something, like something's going on, like they cannot use their words now, so they need to have a behavior, and they are not doing it to make our lives more difficult. It's because they are having a hard time. It's not that they. So I was like, we need to see that, because sometimes we just want kids to be mini adults, and we feel like, just do what I want you to do it. Sometimes we were raised that way. So that relearning, it's also trying to become.
Or I don't know if your parents ever told you that because I said so
Oh
line.
yeah.
And I'm
Me-
like, I always grew up saying, like, I'm never going to tell my kids because I said so. And honestly, I have stuck to that because
Yeah.
my son is Porter, he's 5, nonverbal, and I can't, he needs to know the why behind things in order for him to be able to understand it.
Yeah.
And I think that's not just siloed to neurodiversity.
Oh no.
I think that is across the spectrum of kids in general.
Oh yeah.
You need to understand the why.
That's
so
why I
they
love.
can-
Yes,
So that they can
that's why-
learn.
yes, that's why I love conscious discipline, because Dr. Becky says discipline is not telling the child how to behave; it's teaching the child how to behave. So teach him, because they don't know it. If they knew it, they could do it.
Right.
But they don't know it, so they are learning. But sometimes, now we are very lucky that we have all these resources. Like people can listen to this podcast, people can Google it, can do things that our parents weren't able to do it, and they just raise us without all this technology that is helping us to be better people. We see society and we are like, our emotional intelligence is not working so well. We need to improve it. We need to change it. So I feel like also sometimes with discipline, there are some parents that are like, no, because he's autistic, he doesn't get it. Like, no, he gets it. Like autistic people, they can follow rules for sure, and it's okay. So all of these, I feel like moms, we also need a space to bend and to speak, and to people that just get it. So I feel like these spaces are so helpful. And also, I created Networking for a Cause that's happening in September 21st, because when I'm speaking with people like you, I feel like a fish in a fishbowl. And then I go to the supermarket and I'm like, this ocean doesn't know anything. Like, it's staring at me because my son's making happy noises or things like that, So I was like, no, one of the missions of Aventura Consciente is to educate the whole society. We should all know it, like general knowledge. Like we know that the USA is located in North America. We should know that steaming is okay. If they are not hurting themselves, they are not hurting anybody, they can steam. It's fine. You don't need to stare at them.
That's a beautiful mission. I think that's why we both felt compelled to be able to come and sponsor the event, because it speaks to what we want, and our mission of just the podcast, of being able to spread knowledge, awareness, acceptance, inclusion, all the fun words that go along with the world of autism and trying to bring awareness to it. So we're really excited to come.
Yeah, we
in
can't wait.
September.
I am so excited.
I think one thing too that is just like a common theme, I think probably to some degree in moms in general, but like, and I think we've said it before in other episodes, but it's really cool to see like different culture, different country that you were born and raised in. But the mama bear instinct is the same. We get our kids settled, and then we're like, how many other families can I help? How can we continue to spread like the awareness? So it's really cool to see, there's just so many different moms we've, already gotten to speak to, more that we're really excited to speak to. And it doesn't matter where the mom is from. It doesn't matter what culture. Like, we're all like, that mama bear instinct is just innate no matter where you're located in the world. So I just love seeing that, like you said, just connecting to another, fellow autism mom who has the same mission that we do, is just really, really awesome.
Exactly. And what I feel is like, for example, here in America, we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. And I was looking for events, and there are tons of concerts and festivals and food trucks and a lot of things. But you never hear about an autistic adult, a Hispanic autistic adult or autistic child or so. So I was like, I'm going to create networking for a cause and bring a Mexican autistic adult here, because I don't know a Hispanic adult here in Charlotte yet. When I started this event, now I know a lot and I'm excited.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so before I didn't know, so I was like, I know children like they are in 4, 5 years old, so they're not ready to tell us or be good at something, or they cannot tell me, yes, I want to be in a stage, So I was like, oh, what can we do? What can we do? So I have a really good friend that I have learned so much from her. She's autistic. She's from Mexico, from Guadalajara. She is a jewelry designer. She writes books. She draws beautifully. She paints. She's an artist, and she advocates for the autistic community, especially for women, because she sees that a lot of women were not diagnosed, and then you see a lot of depression, anxiety, and a lot of things. So she's coming from Guadalajara. She's going to be one of the speakers for Networking for a Cause. She's super excited, and she's going to come and speak to us what is to be an autistic person, because I feel like she's the combination of science and experience. She loves reading, studying. She has some master's degrees and PhD and so many things. It's her big interest. Like, she can search more than 15 hours for what she likes. She's hyper focused on what she likes. She loves autism and brain, so she knows about it. And it's amazing that her jewelry, it's going to be part of the Charlotte Fashion Week in September 19th.
Oh,
Charlotte is going to be able to see all her jewelry, and I'm so excited because it's the first time of a Hispanic autistic adult being part of the Charlotte Fashion Week. So she's bringing all her jewelry, and she's super excited. She already sent me, she was asking for her plane ticket many months in advance. She's a planner. She needs to know what's going on every day. I'm doing her schedule and everything in advance to help her feel regulated. And she's super excited to share with us her experience. So I am super excited too, because even though that day there are other concerts and things, there are a lot of Hispanic people who prefer to come to our event and to learn about autism and support the community. And I'm so excited and thankful.
That's really, really amazing. Yeah.
I wanted to kind of get to know a little bit more about your motherhood journey and then your journey into the autism world and community. Did I get it wrong? Do you have an older child, and then your second born is autistic?
No, my first child is autistic. Julian, he's 6 years old, and Sarah is 4 years old, and she's neurotypical so far because she's only 4. I don't know what the future will bring.
You said, what is her name?
Sarah.
Sarah.
Okay. I have a Zara with a Z.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I was like, wait, what?
No, I have my Julia and my Sarah. She always asks me, Mom, why did you miss my H? I'm like, my sweetie, we don't spell your name with an H. Sorry. She's like, oh, I think you left it. I'm like, no, I didn't leave it anywhere. Just don't spell with it.
I love it. Oh, so cute.
Yeah.
Oh, the sass continues. Mine is 7.
Okay.
I was just telling Kelby, oh my goodness.
Yes. So my journey as a mom, the first year I stayed home with Julian, and he was an easy baby because everything was a routine, and the only caregiver he knew, it was me and my husband. So his first year, I remember going to the library for a story time and things like that. He was amazed, like an easy baby. Like my parents were like, "Oh my God, you're so good with the sleeping routine. Like he sleeps what the book says." I'm like, "Yes, he does." But I think it was because it was a routine. But then when he turned 12, I started seeing some different characteristics in Julian, like places that he used to enjoy it, like the story time, he hated. He just wanted to leave. And he didn't walk until he was 18 months. So he will crawl everywhere just to leave, to leave. He didn't want to be there. Like I remember he used to go like this, not sitting in the car seat. And I was like, you used to be the happy baby. What happened to you? Like, some signs of, and then he didn't recognize his name. And I was like, oh, maybe because I call him Julian and not Julian, or maybe because I call him my love, Teddy Bear, Cookie Monster, like all the nicknames. So I was like, And then I started realizing the lack of interest in interacting with me. It was more his trains, just his train. Thomas was is still a big thing here, but it was just Thomas. So I was like, I talked to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician told me it's because he's bilingual. You're raising him in a bilingual home. So I was like, no, I don't think so, because he doesn't have the intention to communicate with me. It's not that he's trying to use any words. He just, I don't know when he wants water or more, or if he's wet or something. Like he doesn't, like, I remember throwing a ball to him, and he wouldn't give me back to me. Like the ball will go, and he would be like, I'm with my train. What are you talking about? So I was like, something is different. Like I knew something is different. Then I started Googling, and I was like, I think Julian is autistic. And I remember a lot of people telling me, no, he's just shy. He's different. Your uncle was like this. Your dad spoke when he was 4 years old. Blah, blah. Like, all these people. Until I called the early intervention in Philadelphia. I called them and I told them, I think my child is different. Can you evaluate him, please? Because my pediatrician was like, no, he's a boy. Everything is okay. He's hitting the milestone. He's growing and getting chubby. That's what she wanted for him to get bigger. So I was like, And of course, when they were going to evaluate Julian, the pandemic started. So all those evaluations, everything was like following him with the computer everywhere. So it was like, it was silly. And I was pregnant. But, I remember myself with a huge belly on the floor, reading to Julian, trying to help him. And then I remember I was teaching online, and he used to be so calm, so easy, playing with his train, the same game over and over and over. So I was like, no, that's not being easy. His brain is different. Like, kids are a pain. So I was like, no, something's going on. And that's how everything started. So when I got the diagnosis of Julian was June 2020, and Sarah was 1 month old. So that was very hard for me, because I had a C-section that was super painful by myself, because my husband he came with me, but then he left to be with Julian, and he couldn't come back to the hospital again because of COVID. And we didn't have vaccines or anything back then. It was just the curve of people dying because of COVID that stresses me out so much. And then I remember the nurse holding Sarah, and I was asking her, how do you know you don't have COVID? Because I was so scared, or my newborn being with her. So it was a lot, and I had postpartum depression. It was bad. I remember calling the doctor and saying, I love my children, but I don't want to get out of bed. And I don't want to, like, I want to be with them, but I can't. Like, I know something's going on with me. So then she was like, yeah, you are depressed. I was like, oh, I didn't know this is how it feels like, because it was hard. It was being with my husband 24/7 for a long time. Like, I love him, but being in the same house 24/7 with a 2-year-old being diagnosed and a newborn, it was a lot.
That is a lot. Wow.
Yeah, so It was hard. It was really hard. And then the secretary who called me to tell me that Julian was autistic, I remember she was like, oh yeah, I will email you all the results. Of course, he couldn't do anything. Like, his results were very level 6. Like, it was like bad. And then I remember I was scared, and I asked her, so is he going to go to kindergarten, or how is his school? I was thinking about school. And she told me, I'm sorry, I'm not a future teller. I really don't know what to say. So I was like, thank you, have a good day. And I remember I hang up and I just cry. Sarah had a tongue tie, she needed the surgery, I couldn't breastfeed her, I felt like a bad mom. It was bad.
Yeah,
I think everybody, yeah, I think any mom with, a child with autism can certainly relate to all of that. And, I commend you for all the obstacles, like COVID being a huge one. Like you said, following him around, like you said, it was silly with a computer trying to get evaluations done. And, then having a newborn who, no newborn is easy with sleep and things, but then like, having a C-section and having to have given birth by yourself and like all of that, like just wow.
And Sarah
So
had
you
a
did
tongue
great.
tie. So, oh my God, had a tongue tie. She used to wake up every 15 minutes at night, or it was a lot. So I was like, if I did it, I know I can do it now because it was
I
a
was
lot.
gonna say that. There's
It was,
probably more
yes.
mountains ahead of you that don't look like that tall of mountains because you've done Mount Everest.
Oh my God, like I remember when I was creating my webpage, like I started writing like my why. I was like, oh my God, how did I do that? Like just tears came out of me because I was like, I remember it was so hard. I felt so lonely, so worried. Like autism was a completely different world that I had no idea about it. And then everything I was like, oh, but today he didn't behave to autistic. And then I was like, what am I talking about? That's why I always say, I wish people, that's why I want people to know more about it so they don't have all this worried. Like, of course you are going to be worried, but I feel like it's too much that we are afraid of what we don't know. And honestly, we don't even know with our neurotypical ones, but the diagnosis changed a lot of things that I feel like now it's different. It feels better to know. Like yesterday we had a birthday party and Julian was able to tell me that he didn't want to go, and I was like, wonderful, you stay home with your dad. Like that's my dream, for like to be able to know it, and it's okay. Like it changed my mind now, because before I would be like, every child wants to go to a birthday party in my before mind, but now he said that he didn't want to go. And then I was like, it's okay, it's fine, you don't have to go if you don't want to go, it's fine. And he was here happy drawing his trains, that's what he wanted to do. So those are things that helped me a lot through this journey, not to compare myself, because I used to be like, oh, you see, my friends came with all their kids, all their family are going to a restaurant. No, my family, we don't go to restaurants for now, not yet, it's not the time. And it's okay.
Yeah.
We can do checkouts.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think I think those are all like really good points for all of us, because there's definitely, everybody's journey is a little different, and what, our families can do, can't do, what our kids will tolerate, what they won't tolerate. But I think like what you said, just like, it's okay. This is our family and this is our four walls and this is what we have to do to make it through the day and to make it to tomorrow. And
And
coming to that acceptance is hard.
yes, and you know what? I also see how my 4-year-old, she's starting to see that her brother is different. So she asks me things, and then I feel so powerful when I can explain it to her without crying, without feeling like I'm sorry. No, it's like, it's okay, we're all different. It's fine. It's like, Mom, why does my brother likes to play only with his trains? I'm like, because the same way you love your princesses, he loves his trains. And then she's like, but I also like my babies. I'm like, yes, you also like your babies. We all like different things, and he loves his trains. It's okay. But he has been singing Hickory Hickory Dock for more than an hour. I'm like, yes, it's okay. He likes it. It's fine. It's like, it's okay. We're all different. And I like it that I'm able to do that now. And this month in August, I have been going to a back to school fair in a Hispanic supermarket to talk about autism and to help Hispanic families. And my daughter said, Mom, can I come with you? I told her no, because it's 90-degree weather. not very pleasant. It's an outside thing. It's hot, and everybody speaks Spanish. You don't speak Spanish yet. And she told me, but you can get me a device like my brother's friend, so I can communicate with the other people that won't understand me, because that's also speaking, right, Mom? I was like, wow, yes, you're right. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, it's awesome how smart they are. And we talked on this a little bit with Dr. Tay, about, for me, Zara, she's 7, and Luca, my son, who is, level 3 nonverbal at this point. He had just turned 4 this month. And so we, kind of touched on, like, the first time I said, because I kept saying to Zara, yes, Luca's different, Luca learns differently. That was my big thing, was Luca learns different. That's what I kept saying to her for a long time. And I remember the first time that I said, he has autism, and I used that word. And that was a big deal for me, to say
Absolutely.
he has autism, like, and identify that to her. But I could tell that it was no longer satisfying her question when I said he just learns different. She needed to know the why. The why does he learn?
Absolutely. And I feel like also everybody in the family needs a time to accept it and to process it differently. My husband and I, we did it completely different. I remember with the dinos, my husband was like, "Oh, it's a bump in the road. We're gonna do it." For me, it was Everest on the road. Like, it was a lot. Like, I it was a lot. Like, I went through a lot of feelings and a lot of things, but my husband processes differently, which doesn't mean it didn't not hurt him, because my family is very neurodivergent. Once you start knowing me more, I will tell you more things about my family. So for my husband is different, and I see that his acceptance was different. And I feel like with Sarah, I also have to explain it to her, because she wants to play hide and go seek nonstop. Julian is not interested in that game. So he doesn't want to play that. And she wants him to play with adults. He doesn't want to play that. Or he tries it for 2 seconds and then it's too much. He goes to play something different. So she needs to know, and she asked me, but why does brother doesn't want to play with me in the pool? I'm like, it's not that he doesn't want to. He's interested in doing something different, but he's like, but does he love me? I'm like, sure, he loves you, but he wants to swim, because that's why we are here in the swimming pool. He doesn't want to play with your Barbies. Like, he doesn't want to play with and it's okay. He's swimming he came here with a purpose. But for her, like, she doesn't get it. She's like, why he's not catching me? He doesn't want to catch me. He doesn't want to play with me. I'm like, no, he does. He loves you, but he doesn't want that game, and it's okay. It's the same with food. Sometimes you don't want to eat your broccolis. It's not that you don't love eating. You just don't want those broccolis. And she's like, oh, okay. So I'm trying to explain her. She's only 4, but I see she sees differences. And she's like, why do we go to a different school? Or why he takes that bus that has a little sign and my bus doesn't have a sign? What the questions like that? Or why when we fly, brother has a sunflower thing and I don't? I want to have headphones. Things like that. She's like, she's curious. Kids are curious. So I think it's so important, adults, to explain it naturally, so they learn naturally and not like, no, don't look at him because your brother is weird, and all those words that shouldn't even be used.
Yeah.
So
we had an experience last fall where we went to like a little fall like playground and pumpkins and all that fun stuff. And my niece and nephew, I was pregnant at the time, and so they had a climbing apparatus, and I was not getting up in there, and my husband's 6'2", big guy, so he wasn't getting up in there. But so my niece and nephew, who are neurotypical, they helped Porter kind of guide him throughout the thing, and he got stuck on one thing, and he was stimming, he was doing his happy sounds, and some of the kids, you can kind of see them start to look at him, and then I can't remember exactly what the incident was that occurred. I wish I could, so I could tell a better story, but my nephew, who is probably, I think, 4 years older than Porter, he tells the other kids, he's like, yeah, he's autistic, and he doesn't talk, but he uses a talker. And it's like by us telling him not using
That's
different
right.
words of like he's just different or and which I think they're appropriate in
Some
certain
ages.
settings.
Hmm.
But I think
Hmm.
there's a level of honesty that kids and transparency that we owe them so that then they organically become their own advocates for whoever that family member is, friend is, or something like that. So it's like I didn't have to yell up there and be like, "He's autistic," like like
Let him leave him alone.
yeah. It was his cousin that was able to advocate for him in that moment, and that
I
was
you
a
I
really
love the
cool.
example you just said it because from a child perspective, listening from another child, it makes more sense than an adult telling me something that the child must be like, okay, what? So it's like children conversation, and I love that because that I feel like we are advocating for inclusion, but hopefully our generations will just talk about living in the same place and being different. And it's okay to be different as far as we are kind, we follow the rules, we do the things that we are supposed to do. It's fine, like it is okay. I remember we were at the pool and there was one autistic child. He was non-speaking and he was steaming very loud and making a lot of happy noises. And I saw the mom, she was like looking around and she looked at me and she was like, I'm so sorry. And I told her, there's nothing to be sorry, he's making happy noises. She was like, oh, thank you, because I know it bothers other people. It was like, it doesn't bother me, he's having fun, he's playing, he's swimming, he's getting up and down the pool, in the pool, like it's fine. And I saw how her face and her body changed, like she was relaxed. She was like, oh, I was like, he's also autistic. She was like, oh, really? He doesn't look like. I was like, and then I told her, I pay extra for that. And she laughed and she was like, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. I was like, autism doesn't have a look, but my son has a lot of challenges too. Like we all do it. Because I feel like sometimes when our children speak, it looks like it's not so bad, but sometimes Julian can be so dysregulated that he will be level 7, like I said, like words come out of his mouth and he will just show me the behavior that he's having a really hard time.
It's cool how we can all, it's like, it's just such a universal language, like autism. It's just so, and then autism motherhood is such a universal language where we can sit here and talk forever, I'm sure. And we've got more stories that we could share. And just for timing purposes, though, we will go ahead and kind of round out our conversation today. And something that we always ask our guests to do is tell us one thing that you think the world ought to know about autism. So if you could kind of give us your insight into what that thing is, and then we'd love to hear that from you.
Well, it's even my quote. Aventura Consciente has a quote that says that autism is an expression of human diversity. And that's my quote. I said to everybody, autism is expression of human diversity because we cannot compare one autistic to another autistic. We cannot compare Ecuadorians. We cannot compare Americans. We are diverse. That's beautiful. And we should learn to accept how people communicate. If they make eye contact, they don't make eye contact. If the speaker who is autistic and who's coming, Alejandra, she likes to be called Alita. She hates phone calls. She hates voice notes. She prefers a short message. And that's how we communicate. And that's perfect. I love phone calls and I love speaking. You can tell I can be here with you 3 more hours. She doesn't, and that's okay. I still love her.
Yep. It takes all kinds of kinds to make up the world. And,
I love it.
And that's definitely, like they say, you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism. And it's very true. Like it holds true no matter what kind of a conversation to who you're speaking to. That's the truth. They're their individual own selves, just like you and me are. And so respecting what they need and want is the exact same as you asking for respect from me or vice versa.
Absolutely, I love it, and it's just an expression of diversity, and we are all different.
I love that
quote. I
Yeah.
love that. Well, Lucy, we are so excited to get to actually see you in person in a few weeks.
I'm a hugger, so I will give you a hug,
Oh,
guys.
I'm a hugger
Yes,
too. Don't
yes.
worry.
We're in.
But if you could kind of let our audience know, plug your Instagram or your social media contact information if you would like to, so that they know how to follow you and follow along this journey. And then if you can kind of give them insight, if they're local to the Charlotte, North Carolina area, how do they register for the event in September?
Okay, thank you so much. So you guys can find me on Instagram at Aventura Consciente, and I'm on Instagram. I have the webpage that's www.aventuraconsciente.com, or you can shoot a message to 678-200-9112. I will help you. I try to put everything bilingual, but sometimes just Spanish come out of my heart. But the webpage and everything it's in English. So sometimes I'm like, does it make sense? And my husband is like, yes, people understand you. Don't worry. I'm like, okay, I am doing my best. And the event is going to be in September 21st from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're going to have a lot of vendors. So it's like a networking event. Also, a lot of moms of autistic children and teenagers are being part of it, which is, I am super excited to help promote their businesses, because most of them, they have reached out to me and said, I had to quit my full-time job because they were calling me from my child's school all the time. So I started baking, and I started making empanadas, and so I was like, wonderful, come, we need to know you so we can start helping each other also. So they are going to be part of it, and we have amazing speakers and the way that I planned the agenda is for everybody to attend. So we will all listen into the speakers, and then we will have a break where we can all be visiting our vendors or booths, and then we come back to the speakers. Then everybody has the knowledge and nobody misses it, because I want everybody to listen to Dr. Tay, Alita, and Amy. I can't wait to see you. And you can find all the information in the webpage too, but I don't know the exactly address here in my mind now, but it's in the Steel Creek area, because I have a lot of families that live in York County, like Fort Mill and Lake Wiley, Rock Hill area, and Charlotte. So I was thinking, what can be like the middle? Steel Creek. So it's like 20 minutes for them, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So that's a wonderful location. And I am very excited.
I said, well, we are too. We cannot wait. We absolutely cannot wait. So thank you so much for coming on today. And we look forward to giving you an in-person hug and meeting you very soon.
See you soon. Thank you for all the things you do, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.